Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Breaking 80 over 50. I'm Frank, and I am going to need some rambling music for this episode because I'm going to ramble. I've got a bunch of different thoughts in mind, so I'll try to paint a picture, hopefully a somewhat straight line through all these different thoughts. And ultimately, I want to talk about what is it going to take to break 80. I've just been joined by my cat, Sephiroth, who is checking out the computer while I'm talking. Seph, good to see you. And what I wanted to talk about is since the Ryder Cup, which if you listened to last episode, you heard about my first ever golf tournament and how I did in the annual Oriole Ryder Cup. I've played some pretty good golf since that point in time. For me, as we always talk about, it's all relative. But each of the 4 rounds that I've played since the Ryder Cup have lowered my handicap. And that's unusual. I'm always a little up and down, good round, bad round, bad round, good round. But I've had 4 pretty good rounds of golf in a row, and I entered the Ryder Cup a 17.3 handicap, and after those 4 rounds, as of today, I'm down to a 16.2. 2 episodes, I talked about my personal best, which at that time was 85, and I've gone lower. One of those 4 rounds that I've played really good golf, I shot an 83. I've also shot an 89, a 90, and an 86. So 3 out of 4 rounds in the 80s. That's the best stretch of golf by a mile that I've ever had. And I wanted to talk about those rounds a little bit and talk about what it would take for those rounds to be in the 70s instead of the 80s. So I'm just going to give you some detail, not go hole by hole, but so now my personal best, my new personal best is an 83. And that's really what, when I talked about my last personal best, which was an 85, that was a wild round with 3 birdies, a bunch of bogeys and doubles and all over the place. But the 83 was about as clean a round of golf as I can play. So in that round, I had 8 pars, 9 bogeys, and 1 double bogey. Nothing higher than that. I hit 50% of fairways, 28% of greens in regulation. Took me 32 putts to get through the round. I had 1 3-putt, and it included 4 up and downs. Next round of golf I played was an 89, and in that round, I had a birdie, which I did not have in the round of 83. I had 4 pars and 10 bogeys. So that's 15 holes. 4 pars, 10 bogeys, and 1 birdie is 15 holes. The problem is, in addition, I had 1 double and 2 triples. What changed? Well, my fairways went down. I hit 36% of fairways. This is a crazy number. I shot an 89 and I only hit 6%, which is 1. I hit 1 green in regulation. I took 29 putts. I had 2 3-putts, but I made 5 up and downs. And man, that's a rough day, hitting 1 green in regulation. But as the driver goes, sometimes it makes it difficult to get to the green in regulation. Then I shot a round of 90. In that round, I had 2 birdies. And I've read that birdies, I think birdies come and go, but they are not an indicator of how good a round of golf you shoot. You just can't depend on them. If they pop up, if they happen, great. But clearly, again, my round of 83, 0 birdies. Round of 89, 1 birdie. Round of 90, 2 birdies. So that round, 2 birdies, 4 pars, 6 bogeys, 4 doubles, and 2 triples. Driving a little bit better at 43% of fairways, back up at 22% of greens in regulation. Took me 32 putts. I had 3 putts and 4 up and downs. Now, that round, I know that while my driving numbers look a little better, I had 3 drives that went out of bounds off the tee and had to re-tee, so I was hitting 3 off the tee. That's the kind of stuff that leads to doubles and triples. And 3 putts. So again, in some ways I look at that and I think it's a miracle that I shot 90, hitting 3 balls out of bounds off the tee, 3 putts. That one was a battle. And then my most recent round, I shot an 86. That also included 1 birdie, 9 pars, and 2 bogeys. So we'll call that pretty good golf for 12 holes. It also included 4 doubles and 2 triples. And my driving accuracy down, 21% of fairways hit, but I did hit 28% of greens in regulation. So that matches my 2 best rounds there, the 83 and the 86 in both rounds, 28% of greens in regulation. I had a good putting day with 28 total putts. It's the only round of these 4 where I had 0 3 putts and I had 5 up and downs. So I think this is a good process. If you're working on your golf game, I hope in the GIN app, or the GIN app is free, that it's real simple. And I've started doing it. I used to do it on a scorecard and make notes, but now while I'm out on the course, I just open up the app and key it in. And it's as simple as putting in your score. Did you hit the fairway? And there's arrows. Left if you were left of the fairway, right if you were right, short, long, or you hit it. Same thing with greens in regulation. Did you hit it or miss? Short, left, right, long. How many putts? And it's good information because when I lay it out like this, it really starts to paint a clear picture of what I need to do. The round of 83 is the only round where the highest score I carded was 1 double bogey. In each of the other 3 rounds, the 89, the 90, and the 86, I had 2 triples in each of those rounds. Score killers. There's no other way around it. And then in addition, the round of 90 and the round of 86, I had 4 doubles. So 4 doubles and 2 triples. Whereas the round of 83, I had 1 double, 0 triples, 8 pars, 9 bogeys. So I've worked hard, and I'll do a year-end recap and I'll go back and I'll talk about 2024 versus 2025. And I'm sure we'll see that I have reduced. I have gotten better and I've turned triples into doubles, doubles into bogeys, bogeys into pars. And I'm definitely making more birdies this year than I did last year. So all those things are going the right way. The challenge is I do still have those blow up holes. Have holes where, and I know it when I'm in it. I know it when it's happening, that they're getting away from me and I struggle to get them back on track. And not always, but I would say 75 to 80% of the time, the thing that leads to those blow up holes is a bad drive. And obviously a bad drive could be hitting it completely out of bounds and having to re-tee. But a bad drive could also be hitting it far enough left or right that either I'm in a really deep rough and it's difficult to move the ball forward, or behind a tree and have to chip out into the fairway. It's something I continue to work at. That when I played the Ryder Cup, and I talk about that, I played 27 holes without losing a ball. That's a really good stretch for me. It doesn't mean that I hit every fairway, but what it does mean is that even when I missed the fairway, I left myself in a place where I had a decent second shot. It's fun to be a little left or a little right. I just can't be way left or way right. It makes things really difficult. And it's funny, yesterday I had a hole it's a short par four. It's a relatively narrow fairway. And I decided to do what I thought was the mature thing and hit 3-wood instead of hitting driver. And I hit the 3-wood. I sliced it right, and out of bounds comes into play really quickly. I got lucky. It hit a tree and came straight down, but I would bet my total drive was no more than 100 yards. It was shortly in front of the women's tees. So get to the ball. I still have 240 into the green. And I thought about taking 3-wood again and trying to push it up as far as I could to the green. But I decided, no, let's stay in this hole. We'll hit a 6-iron. We'll get to a number that we like, and then chip in a putt, and we'll see what we can do. So I did. Hit a 6-iron, left myself about 100 yards in, hit a great wedge 5 feet to the cup, and made my putt for par. So there are times, as long as the ball's not out of play, I can turn a hole around and try and save bogey. But it's really the wild stuff left and right that gets me in trouble. And I do. I feel like that, well, there's lots of everything. Every part of my game needs to improve. I had a really good stretch with driver leading into the Ryder Cup. And since it's been shaky, and it's one of those things that every time I think I've figured it out, it just gets away from me again. And that's the kind of stuff that gets me in trouble. So when I look at yesterday's round, I shot an 86, 1 birdie, 9 pars, 2 bogeys, 4 doubles, and 2 triples. If I can turn the 2 triples into doubles, that's 2 strokes. My 86 goes down to 84. And now I'm showing 6 doubles in theory on the card. I need to get rid of 5 of the 6, and there's my 79. So I've got to find a way to keep the big scores off the card. And again, back to the 83, 8 pars, 9 bogeys, and 1 double. It was an 83. A birdie or 2 there, and man, I am knocking on the door. So I thought about this, and then what I decided to do was make a Christmas list, a Christmas wish list of the things that I would like to have, that I would ask Santa Claus for, that would help me break 80 and get to that magic number of 79. And I'll go through this. I'd love to hear what will be on your wish list. You can leave it in the comments or send me an email. But I didn't think about physical things. I didn't think about I need a new driver or a new putter. What I thought about is what do I need to improve in my golf game? And maybe you do. Right now, I think I'm in a good place with equipment. Maybe for you, a new driver, a new set of clubs is what you need to get to the next level. That's not where I'm at right now. So here is my Christmas wish list, the things that I think I would ask Santa Claus for that would immediately make my game better. Number 1, the first thing I wrote on my list is club face control. And this goes back to that left and right dispersion. And every time I go for a lesson and I talk to Reggie, the one thing that he continues to preach, which I get and I buy, is a consistent shot shape. If we know that I consistently hit a draw, which is the goal, but if I can still hit a draw or a fade, you can play with that. You can work with that. The problem is when you don't know exactly what's coming, or you think you're going to hit a draw and you hit a fade, or you think you're going to hit a fade and you hit a draw, that's when you get yourself in real trouble. And while club path plays into that, I do think club face control is a big piece. So that was the first thing that popped in my head, the first thing I wrote down on the list. The second one, which ties into club face control, is a consistent shot shape. like I said, it would be nice to know that I always move my shots right to left or left to right. Consistency is so important. And there's days where I'm there where everything's moving left or everything's moving right. But I'd say in general, I miss both ways, not only with driver, but approach shots into the green. I continue to have a two-way miss left and right. And that's something that if Santa Claus could bring me consistent shot shape, I think I'd see better scores. The third thing I wrote on my list was the sand game. This is another one that can blow up around a golf, is finding myself in a bunker. And this is kind of like my driver. There's days where I have a good bunker game and I can hit good bunker shots and I can get out and I can leave myself a relatively makeable putt. And then there's days where I hit my sand shot and I'm still in the sand. And then I hit the next one and I blade it over the green. And that's a killer, especially I think on a par 3 where you've got your distance right, but you miss left to right, end up in a bunker. You're still relatively close to the green, close to the hole, but end up making a 5 or a 6 because of a bad sand shot. So a better sand game is something that would definitely help me put up better scores. The next thing I wrote down was great lag putting. It would be nice. And anytime you hit a green in regulation, we always joke that it's an easy game when you say, I hit the fairway, I hit the green, I 2-putted and made par. What hurts is hitting a green in regulation and then 3-putting. And if I 3-putted from 60 or 70 feet, well, I wouldn't be thrilled. I get it. I'd be like, okay, that happens. The killer for me is, I'd say 3-putting from 18 feet, 20 feet. They're distances where being able to hit a good lag putt, give it a roll. If it goes in, great. If not, you've got to tap in par. There's nothing in life. Well, that's not true. There's lots of things in life, but one of the most rewarding things on a golf course is a tap in par. Hitting a great first putt. Nope, didn't go in, but it's 2 inches away. You walk up and tap it in. What I do way too often is hit that first putt and then leave myself 6 feet back to make par. And those, at least for me, are tough putts to make consistently. So being a better lag putter would certainly take strokes off my game. The next thing I wrote on my list was a 100-yard shot. And that may seem like an odd one, but I've talked a little bit about this before. If I was given a choice, I'd rather have, I'd say 120 to 145 yards in as opposed to 100. I'm just more confident with those numbers. 100 for me sits between 2 clubs, and I always have to make this decision. Okay, do I hit one really hard and try and get it there? Or do I take a little off the next one? And that taking a little off, man, it always gets me. So when I hit that number and I'm 100 yards out in the fairway, staring nothing between me and the green, it's a shot that I should be able to hit. And I struggle with it. So a 100-yard shot would help. And then the next one I wrote down was a 200-yard shot. I'm confident in my 6-iron. And my 6-iron, depending on conditions and lie, I'd say I hit 175 to 180 yards. Beyond the 6-iron, it gets interesting. I hit my 5-iron pretty well, and that club can go 200 yards. I've got to hit it pretty perfectly to get it there. Then I've got a 4 hybrid, which I've talked about before, and I call my unhittable club. I've struggled with it from the moment I owned it. And I've been working on it and I've been hitting it a little better. But that's a club that I should be able to hit and hit well for I still have, let's say, 190 to 210 yards into a green. That should be the club. And it just isn't. I've got no confidence when I pull that out of the bag. And then beyond the 4 hybrid, I've got a 3-wood. And at one time, I used to hit the 3-wood really well and could hit it really almost driver distances, 220 to 240. Somewhere along the line, I lost the ability to hit that club. And it's the same thing. When I pull that out of my bag, my confidence level in being able to hit it well and hit it relatively straight really drop off. So I could use a club that once I get beyond my 6-iron, I'm confident I could hit in that 200-yard range. And then the next thing on my wish list were more up and downs just to be better around the green, chipping and pitching. And again, an area of my game that improved. When I look at these last 4 rounds, the round of 83, I had 4 up and downs. The round of 89, I had 5. The round of 90, I had 4. And the round of 86, I had 5. So I think it's pretty good being able to get up and down on 4 or 5 holes per round. But what it doesn't indicate is how many others I missed on. And frequently I'm just off the green a little, depending on what's in front of me. I can't putt, so I need to hit some kind of wedge in. And it depends on whether I've got something between me and the green. Maybe it's a bunker that I've got to pitch over, or it's just too much grass to putt through and I've got to chip up and on. I wish I had more confidence in my sand wedge to hit and get the ball up in the air, kind of flopping on the green. My preference is almost always pitching wedge, use it kind of like a putter, hit it low and run it up onto the green. I've gotten better at that, but it would be great to have a club that if I was 25 yards out or 30 yards out, think I've got that shot. That's a 1/4 sand wedge and just pop it up there and stop it on the green. Because the downside to running everything up onto the green is that sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're short-sighted. The green's running away from you. You bump it up there and the ball just runs away and you leave yourself some 25 or 30-foot putt where if I could have gotten something in the air and stopped it, I would have been better off. So to just be better in general around the greens. That's my list. That's my Christmas wish list. And then after I wrote that down, I made another list. And on that list, I put what's missing. And I just thought it was interesting. What are the things that I didn't ask for? One of the things, the first thing, and the first 2 are really the same. So the first one I put down was speed. And the second one I put down was distance. Would I love to have more of both? Yeah, I would. I'd love to have more club head speed, have more distance. But I feel like when I'm hitting the ball well, I hit my irons very well. And I'm confident in the distance that I hit my irons is right where I need to be. Driver, I'm probably 220 to 240 yard driver of the golf ball. Give me great conditions, little breeze at my back, I can hit it further. Would I like to be able to hit 270, 280, 290? Of course I would. If I could, I'd move back another set of tees, but that's what the tees are for. I play the white tees. I think my distance is fine for those tees, and it's just not my biggest problem. The next thing I wrote down was driver, and it is one of the things that I didn't ask for. And what's interesting about that is I just talked about that the commonality when I have blow up holes and I put up doubles and triples or bigger numbers quite often is an errant drive. So yes, I need to be better with the driver, but I had gotten better, and I still think I'm close. A couple of tweaks, couple little things. I think I can get to a place where I hit driver relatively straight, and I don't think it is currently my biggest issue. Next thing that I didn't ask for is a prettier swing. Everybody would love to have a beautiful golf swing. The good news is, well, that's not entirely true. I was going to say the good news is I don't have to see my own swing. I do see my own swing when I go to Golf Tech. I'm always on screen, always watching. Maybe this is just old age talking, but I don't really care. I don't care what it looks like. If the result is good and I'm making good contact with the ball, I'm hitting it in the direction I want to hit it, I'm clean. I really could care less what the golf swing looks like. So while I'd love to have someone say to me, wow, you have a beautiful golf swing, just it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I just want to hit the ball well. And then the last thing I wrote down that is not on my Christmas list is to stop swaying. And that's something that I've worked hard on. It's something that with Golf Tech and watching video and seeing my swing, I do sway, but I sway less and less. It's something that I've gotten better at. It's something that I can feel now, and I know when it starts happening and my swing goes a little south. I know I can just feel it that I swayed. I came off the ball, not stood up, but swayed. And when I move away from the ball, it can make it difficult to get back to it and make clean contact. But again, it's something that I'm working on and feel like I'm doing better. So it did not make my Christmas wish list. That brings me to, after making my Christmas wish list, I thought, well, I wonder what YouTube has to say about this. So I went to YouTube and searched tips in golf for breaking 80. And there are a ton of videos that came up. And I wish I could tell you that I watched all of them. I did not. But I picked 3. And I picked them based on views. So 2 of the videos were, at least from what came up in my search, 2 of the top viewed videos. And then one of them was a video from John Sherman, who is the author of 4 Foundations of Golf, which is a book that I read. I like his content. I think he's a smart guy. So I added that in. I thought, well, let me see what these videos have in common. Let's see what they're pitching, and let's see if any of them have anything to add that maybe should be on my wish list or could help me to break 80. So I will post each of these videos in the show notes, a link. So if you want to go out and watch them, you can watch them. The first video I watched was from Golf Sidekick, and it had 226,000 views. It promised to help me break 80 faster, and it pitched the 4-6-8 method. So the 4-6-8 method is to hit 8 greens in regulation, to allow yourself 6 bogeys, and he called them birthday holes where you get in some trouble but get out and make bogey, and you need to make 4 up and downs. So 8 greens in regulation, that's aggressive, but it is something that I've done in the past. I would say I am normally closer to 5 or 6, so I agree with that. Hitting more greens in regulations helps. The 6 bogeys, the 4 up and downs. Obviously, I'm getting up and down 4 or 5 times around, and the bogeys, I have 6 bogeys. The problem is I also have doubles and triples, and those are the things that I need to turn into bogeys. A couple of the other tips was you don't have to get to par 5s in 3. I'm sorry. You don't have to get to par 5s in 2. It's okay to get there in 3. So on your second shot, leave a good number to get in. If you're 250, 260 out, you don't have to hit 3-wood and try and get yourself to the green. That brings trouble into play. So hit it to 100 yards, leave yourself a wedge in. He also suggested picking the holes on the scorecard before you start. So before you start your round, picking out, here's the 8 holes where I'm going to hit the greens in regulation. Here's holes where I'm going to be able to make up and downs. And here's the holes that I struggle with. These are the ones I need to work to make bogey. Uh, I also noted that during the video, he did a commercial for a swing app that's supposed to help with your swing. He talked about avoiding danger, things like bunkers and water. And again, that comes into don't hit a club that could get you into trouble. Lay up, take a different club, and stay out of trouble. And if you find yourself out of position, don't hit hero shots and try and limit the damage. So, entertaining video. I can't tell you that I took anything from there that I thought would really help me to break 80, but it was an interesting watch, and Avi's doing okay. She's got 226,000 views. The next one I watched was from Mr. Short Game, which has 308,000 views. And he led with a few tips. So tip number 1 was find the fairway. Don't hit driver into trees or bunkers or water or other trouble. The point there being, you don't always have to hit driver. You can hit 3-wood, you can hit a hybrid, you can hit an iron. And there are holes now, par 4s, that I will tee off with a 6-iron because it's enough to leave me 120, 130, 140 in. So I already do that and agree with that tip. Tip number 2 was that on his way to trying to break 80, if during his round he realized he wasn't going to hit the number, and that number could be anything. You're trying to break 100 or break 90 or break 80, and somewhere along the line you realize it's over and I'm not going to hit that number. He would kind of give up on the round. And he talked about trying not to do that and creating imaginary pressure situations, because putting yourself under pressure tests your golf game so that when you do get to that point and you have to hit a shot to break 80, that you're prepared for it. So maybe I'm trying to break 80, but I know I'm going to shoot 92, but I'm on 18th hole. I hit a good drive. I need to hit the green in regulation. So, and again, I agree here. It's easy to think, it doesn't matter, but no, take time, line up the shot, think about the club. Where do I want to be? Do I want to be above the hole, below the hole, and hit a good shot? If you miss, okay, now I've got to get up and down. I've got to make par to make 79 here, even though I'm really going to shoot 92. And just to create some pretend fictitious pressure to help you play better golf. And tip number 3 was kind of some of the same that the previous video talked about, which was to circle holes on your scorecard before you start and circle a couple of holes where you think, hey, I can make birdie on those holes. One on the front, one on the back. And then also circle on the front and on the back 3 holes where you need to make par on the front and 3 holes where you need to make par on the back. I don't know about that. I play the same course almost every time. And I know when I get to a hole how I normally play it. So I think I already have a feeling of this is one where I struggle. I've got to work to make a par or bogey here, or I like this hole. This is an opportunity for me to absolutely to make par, maybe give myself a shot at birdie. I guess if I was going out and I was playing a new course, maybe I circle on the card shorter par 4s. Hey, here's a 320-yard par 4. That's going to be an opportunity to score, or a short par 5. But I thought the video from Mr. Short Game was better than the one from Golf Sidekick. A couple of those tips, while I don't think they're going to have really helped me break 80, there's something to creating some of that imaginary pressure. Don't always hit drive or hit a club that's going to help you find the fairway. And some of those things I already do. Which brings me to the final video I watched. And this one was John Sherman, and his promise was to help you break 80 faster. And what John talked about was he didn't have any tips or secrets. What he talked about was that every golfer who wants to get better should be obsessed with a few things. And on every shot, should be asking, how is my strike on the club face? Did I start the ball on line? And how was my turf interaction? So the things to him that were important were impact location and club face control. And the club face control can offset club path. So John's tip basically was, you need to be a better ball striker to play better golf. And there is no easy path to that. He talked about drills and using foot powder, putting on the club face so that when you strike the ball, you start to understand where you're striking the ball, on the heel, on the toe, low on the face, high on the face, to help you center in and hitting that sweet spot and hitting the center of the club face. He talked about turf interaction. And one of the things he suggested using was the divot board, which I have and I own. And I haven't always found it to be a great tool. For some reason, I struggle to hit balls off of the divot board. And what he'd probably say is, well, that's how you're really hitting balls on the golf course. I don't completely agree with that, but the divot board helps you see what your club path is, and it helps with turf interaction. So this was the least viewed of the three. Right? So the first video, we said, from Golf Sidekick had 226,000 views. Second one from Mr. Short Game had 308,000 views. The John Sherman video had 31,000 views. And I think that tells us something about us. And to me, what it says is that we're all looking for this magic elixir, this fairy dust that we sprinkle on ourselves and our golf game gets better. And I don't blame for YouTube content creators for putting something out there, and you see it all the time. This one easy move will add 30 yards to your swing. It's nonsense. Every one of them is nonsense. Now, in fairness, look, maybe you're really just getting started and you're driving the ball 150 yards, and yeah, correcting one little thing can add some distance. But if you've been playing for a little bit, you're getting better at this game, the John Sherman video is really the video. And it talks about the things you should be practicing to be a better ball striker. And there's no magic to it. It's just repetition, working hard, and getting better and better at hitting the ball. And the last thing I'd say is, as we talk about being better ball strikers, that yesterday when I shot an 86, my friend Jason shot a 79. And he is, and I've talked about that before, he's a guy who's over 50 and regularly breaks 80. Why does he break 80 and I don't? Like, plain and simple, he's a better ball striker. He is. At times, am I capable of striking the ball as well as he does? Yes. Do I at times drive the ball straighter and further than he does? Yes. But over a large sample size, maybe I drive the ball 30% of the time better than he does, and 70% of the time he's driving the ball better than I do. Irons, it's interesting. We have very similar distances. Usually if we're on a par 3, whatever the distance is, if he's hitting an 8, I'm hitting an 8. If he's hitting a 7, I'm hitting a 7. But again, it comes down to consistency of ball striking. And he is consistently a better ball striker than I am. And that's why he is consistently a better golfer than I am. So if I want to be a better golfer, I need to be a better ball striker. If I want to be a better ball striker, it comes down to how I practice. There is no magic. There is no special device that I can ask Santa Claus for that's going to help me to be a better ball striker. It just comes down to me putting the work in and hitting the ball better. So with that, I go back to my Christmas wish list, and now I'm thinking, Okay, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things on my list, but I can only have one. What's the one thing on my Christmas list that I want? And as I looked over the list, I immediately removed a 200-yard shot. I'd like to have it. I don't need it. It's not a necessity. I removed a 100-yard shot. Same thing. Like to have it. Don't have to have it. I could do a better job with picking the club that gets me there. If I feel better from 85 yards or 120 yards, I have to do a better job of hitting those numbers. Then it starts to get interesting. A consistent shot shape. Yeah, I would love to have a consistent shot shape, but cross that one off the list. Straightish. So if I'm a little left or a little right, but not that far off the center, I can live with that right now. I removed sand game. Yep, 100%. Add strokes to my game. I can do everything I can to avoid bunkers. And yet, even avoiding them, I'm going to hit them every once in a while. But I've got to avoid the sand. Great lag putting. Again, man, would I love to have nothing but tap-in pars. But as I go over the list and I think I can only have one, I think that one can wait. And it brings me to having two things left on my list. Club face control and more up and downs to be better around the green. And both of these things, I think, would have the biggest impact the fastest of all the things on the list. It's a toss-up. But ultimately, what I went with, if I could only have one thing, is club face control. And I went with club face control because even when I go to more up and downs and being better around the green, some of the times I get in trouble around the green because of club face control. I open the face too much and I slice the ball out to the right, or I close it and I hit a chip or a pitch too far left. When I get to a consistent shot shape, that was one of the other things on my list, but largely that's controlled by club face control. If I can control the club face, I can have a more consistent shot shape. So I go back to the list, and I think it's important because to me, first of all, Santa's not bringing me any of these things. Spoiler alert. I wish he would, but it's not happening. To me, what that tells me is this is what I need to be working on. If I think that is the thing that I would like to have most from Santa is better club face control, then I need to focus on that. I need to focus on when I'm at the range, when I'm at Golf Tech, when it's starting to get cool enough that I think I can start hitting balls in the garage again. I think club face control is something that I need to work on. And as I get better and better at that, I do think it will help improve my golf game and help me remove a few more of those triples and doubles off the scorecard and get me to a place where I can shoot the magical 79. So that's it. That's my list. That's where I ended up. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear if you had a Christmas wish list, what would be on it? What do you think the most important thing is that would help your golf game right now? Have you watched any videos on YouTube that truly give you tips and tricks to give you a better shot of breaking 80 or breaking 90? I talked about it in the last video. I've got a thing for YouTube golf. I like watching these videos, but ultimately it comes down to hard work and being dedicated to the craft and working on the little things. And if you do that, yeah, the scores go up and down a little bit. They don't always go in one direction, but consistently, I think it gives us the ability to get better. So that's it. That's my rant for this week. Again, love to hear from you. What are you working on? What's on your Christmas wish list? Coming up for me as we finish up the year, I'm closing in on one of my goals for 2025, which was to play 100 rounds of golf. And I want to talk about that and talk about how I think that went. And did I accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish over those 100 rounds? And then, hey, we'll get into New Year's and it'll be time for some New Year's resolutions. But thanks for hanging in there with me. I truly appreciate you being here. Would love to hear from you. Love to hear what you're working on in your own personal journey. Tell me what's on your Christmas wish list. And I'll talk to everybody next week. Thanks. All right, as I do my outro, let's get that holiday music back. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too, because whether you did or not, here it comes again. Thanks for listening to this episode of Breaking 80 Over 50. I appreciate you being here and would love to hear from you, so drop me a comment or send me an email at breaking80over50@gmail.com. And if you would really like to give me a Christmas present, give me a like or subscribe. All music is provided by Epedemic Sound. This holiday music is called Christmas Magic, and it's by Megan Wofford. And I've got to say, it is catchy. Well done, Megan. The links to the YouTube videos from Golf Sidekick, Mr. Short Game, and John Sherman are in the show notes. Feel free to check them out. And enjoy the holidays. Be merry, be safe, and if you get the chance, have fun out there on the course.